Well, welcome to the latest edition of On Point. I'm Julian Phillips here with political analyst and best-selling author Eric Ham in Washington, D.C. And Eric, obviously, there's no surprise as to who was going to win the New Hampshire primary. Donald Trump won. I think it was by 54 percentage points, around that area. I guess the question now is, Nikki Haley has said that she vows to fight on. She did get a sizable percentage. Break down the numbers, and what do you think it means for her as she moves forward?
Well, to secure the Republican nomination, you need a total of 1,215 votes. That's one more than the totality that are awarded in the entirety of the delegation process. So this becomes now a math problem and a fight over delegates. It's a math problem for Nikki Haley because, as we have seen both in Iowa and now in New Hampshire, she's trailing in delegate votes right now. But when we start to move into Super Tuesday, where there are going to be delegate-rich states, and these will become winner take all, these are states that are actually more advantageous to Donald Trump, not Nikki Haley. And so, Julian, it doesn't look like there's just a path forward for Nikki Haley. There doesn't look like there's a state where she can compete. She's not going to compete in Alabama. She's losing in her own home state of South Carolina by now close to 40 points. And she's not going to do well in Nevada as well. So this is the issue for Nikki Haley is your reason for staying in the race has to be as compelling for the reason that you actually got in the race. So now the question that many people are going to be asking is, why are you still in this race when there's no way for you mathematically to actually secure the delegates you need to be the nominee?
All right. Well, here's the question to that, or here's an answer to that, as some people would say, or some people have brought up. The answer might be Trump's legal woes. Let me repeat that again, Trump's legal woes. And there's something that would suggest that at least one of these trials may go forth before the convention, and he might be convicted. Perhaps, just perhaps, she's hanging on and convince her donors to hang on, that if he is convicted, she should stay in this race just for that reason. And who knows, she might have a chance. Your thoughts?
Okay, Julian, that's a very good analysis. But this is why you have those Emmys behind you, because you're a phenomenal host. And this is why I am an analyst. That simply isn't going to work because this is still a primary battle. And what we have seen in a primary battle and what we are seeing, Donald Trump has all the cards in the Republican Party. He controls the Republican Party. He controls the members of Congress. He controls the governors. He controls the RNC. So, and he also controls the base. And because in primaries, it's your base voters that turn out. And what we are seeing from Iowa and now New Hampshire, and New Hampshire is a telltale, because if Nikki Haley was going to do well anywhere, it was going to be in New Hampshire, where it was thought that New Hampshire voters were her base voters. But what we saw is Donald Trump controls that base, even in New Hampshire, where Nikki Haley was thought to possibly be competitive. So in a primary, Nikki Haley just doesn't have that support, and we're seeing that. So even if Donald Trump is convicted, let's say he is convicted while the primary battle is still going on, his turnout would actually increase because, as we have seen, his base rallies around him every time there is something that happens to him as it relates to his criminal cases. So Nikki Haley is not going to get over that. Where that could be detrimental to Donald Trump and where it could be an advantage to someone is in a general election. And Joe Biden might be able to take advantage of that, because now we're talking about general election voters where you have independents and, more importantly, those white suburban soccer moms who may actually run from Donald Trump and actually move towards Joe Biden. But it's not going to happen in a primary battle where Nikki Haley is thinking that if something happens to Donald Trump legally, she's going to be the beneficiary of it. It just isn't going to happen.
All right. Okay, Mr. Analyst Extraordinaire. Creating a masterpiece always takes a lot of time. She has not really focused on trying to dismantle Trump. Some people say that she's been tiptoeing around this whole issue. Perhaps, just perhaps, as time goes on, now since it's, well, some would say, or she would like to think it's a one-on-one between him and her, that if she really starts attacking him, perhaps she might change some minds down the road before Super Tuesday. Tell me what you think about that.
Oh, you know what? I'm almost starting to think, because you're a New Yorker. You're in New York. If this is a rap battle, brother, you ain't winning. Okay, so let me tell you, if she was going to do that, she needed to have started that actually months ago, where she could actually create this narrative. All she is doing at this point is she is weakening Donald Trump as he looks to the general. And she's weakening him because he is now continuing to have to expend financial resources in competing with her. In addition to that, she has now brought up the issue of his cognitive decline, which is now becoming something that people are going to be looking to and focusing on with him, not just Joe Biden. And so all of this is going to be fodder for a general election matchup for a candidate who is well-funded and who also happens to be the incumbent. So what she's doing is simply not benefiting her once again. It's benefiting his eventual opponent, Joe Biden, in a general election.
Right. You're taking the words out of my mouth. I'm supposed to be asking all the questions here. I just wanted to see the rudder towards the general election. And that's simply my point. I guess going forward, it would hurt him, Donald Trump, if she keeps whittling away at him. And, Biden's campaign right now, his folks are basically saying it's a two-person race because I believe that they feel that he would have a much better chance against Trump than he would against Nikki Haley. Your thoughts?
I think one of the perhaps underreported stories coming out of New Hampshire is going to be what actually took place in that Democratic primary. Now, give me a little space to kind of explain to our viewers what actually went down. The Democratic National Committee actually decided to rearrange their primary process. So what they did was they wanted to create more diversity. So what they did was they moved up some of their states. They moved up Michigan and they moved up North Carolina. And what they did was they moved them past New Hampshire. New Hampshire has always been first in nation primary.
Right.
Well, when the Democratic Party holds its official primary, perhaps in 2028, New Hampshire will not be the first. It will be other states that will go before it. The state was not happy with this. So to push back, they decided to hold a primary this election season. Joe Biden, being the head of the party, did not want to move away from the DNC. So he decided to not put his name on the ballot. Dean Phillips, who actually thought that he would challenge Joe Biden, actually was competing in that state. Joe Biden's name was not even on the ballot, and he still won by nearly 80%. So I think what we're seeing here is, even as the polls have written Joe Biden off at this point, I think last night's turnout in the Democratic primary shows the strength that Joe Biden has as an incumbent president. And we have to remember, New Hampshire is going to be a battleground state in the general election. And so what we're seeing, at least in this battleground state, the incumbent Joe Biden still has some strength left in him.
If you look at these numbers, Eric, also the percentage that Trump won by, in New Hampshire and even in Iowa, say a little over 50% in New Hampshire, about 50% or so in Iowa. There's still a lot of other people there that did not vote for him, independents, those folks who perhaps may have voted for Haley, DeSantis at the time in Iowa. And I guess the question would be, in a general election, if it turns out to be, which it looks like it will be inevitably, a Biden-Trump race. Where are those voters going to go? I mean, some may not vote for anybody, but I certainly would think, people who don't want to vote for Trump. But it seems to me that the Biden campaign, Biden would get a lot of those votes, I would think. What's your thought on that?
I'm glad you brought this up. This is a really good question, and we need to talk about this. One of the reasons why it seemed as though Donald Trump was so angry in his victory speech last night at Nikki Haley is I think he recognizes he has a problem. And he has a problem with many of those independent and independent-leaning Republicans who have stated that those who supported Nikki Haley both in Iowa and now New Hampshire have said that they will not support Donald Trump if he is the Republican nominee. So Trump wants Nikki Haley out of this race because he has to coalesce the party around him. He's got to bring those voters home. If we go back to 2008, remember when Obama was running up against Hillary Clinton, and after Obama won the nomination, there was concern that those millions of voters that supported Hillary Clinton would not support Barack Obama. That was also an issue when Hillary ran against Bernie Sanders. It's not being talked about a lot right now, but considering that this is going to be a very close general election matchup, every vote is going to count. And what we are seeing now, those who are supporting Nikki Haley have been adamant they are not going to support Donald Trump. Donald Trump needs Haley out of this race so he can start the process of trying to woo her supporters. The longer she stays in the race, the harder it becomes for him to actually be able to win them over to his side. And he's going to need every independent-leaning Republican, every Republican to actually be competitive in a general election matchup.
Okay, good analysis there. I wanted to talk about the apathetic black vote. Apparently there's a percentage of black people that say that they're not happy with him and all that. We can talk about that another day because we're running out of time. But as we close here, I do want to make one mention. We talked about this last night while we were watching the returns. I did get a rumor that's been circulating for quite some time up here that perhaps Michelle Obama might throw her hat in or take over for Joe Biden sometime in May. That might be announced that he can gracefully bow out and she will be running for president. Your thoughts?
Look at all these rumors surrounding me every day. I just need some time to get away from all these rumors. I can't take it no more. That's how I feel about this rumor of Michelle Obama getting into this race. First of all, that's not going to happen because if Michelle Obama was going to get into this race, even though she's royalty, even though she is seen as someone in the clouds, she still actually needs to secure the requisite amount of delegates to become the nominee. And she has not competed and is not competing in any state. And just in case some people don't still know this, we do not anoint kings in this country. You have to become president by winning elections. And Michelle Obama, as great as she is and as great as people think she is, she has not done that. She is not, and she is not going to be the nominee in May, August, certainly not in November.
And here endeth the reading of On Point for this edition. Eric Ham, thank you very much. We got a lot to look forward to. Of course, we've got Super Tuesday, other things happening before that. And of course, as I mentioned to all of our viewers, listeners, that we are giving you information, not trying to lead you and lean towards one candidate or the other. We need solid journalism, unbiased journalism, and that's what we are attempting to do here on Point. Stay with us as things unfold. And we will try to answer all the questions that you may have regarding, this particular election and anything else that just may come up. But in the meantime, Eric Ham, all these rumors I'm not going to sing. I'll see you next time.
You bet. Look forward to it. Thanks, buddy.